Happy hump day, everybody. Oh no, was that yesterday? What freaking day is it? It's Thursday. That's what it is. It's Thursday. Today's a good day. Today's a really good day. If you're a gun owner. If you're not, you're probably throwing yourself off a ledge right now. And oh, the apocalypse is coming. Shut up. This is a good thing. It's a good thing for gun rights. It's a good thing for the Constitution and the Second Amendment. So today there was a court case in front of the Supreme Court. They don't take up gun causes very often. The last one was the Heller ruling in 06 or 08 or whatever. So it's been 15 years or whatever since the last Supreme Court case around the Second Amendment came up, and that was the landmark Heller case, which reaffirmed and reestablished that yes, keeping and owning a firearm is an individual right. And if you go back to my Dave's Saturday Morning Coffee with Dave for June 18th, go to like the last 20 minutes of the video. I did a bit of a kind of like a Schoolhouse Rock type of format where we actually go through the prefatory and the operative clause of the Second Amendment and what they means and grammatically how it works with the dictionary definitions of that era, because words mean what they mean at the time they were written. So just because a word means something today doesn't mean the law that was written changed our every 5 years. Our languages, we use different slang terms that then makes it their way into the dictionary, and we use different terms and words have more than one meaning. That's fine when you're just kind of talking and communicating. When it comes to the law means what it meant at that time. So things like arms, militia, all that kind of stuff. We go into that and break it down legally and grammatically, what the Second Amendment meant, what it still means, and why. So go back and watch that video. I think you might find it educational if you didn't already know that stuff. So what the Heller case was it struck down, I think, the Chicago or the DC ban on handgun ownership and said, this is a human right. It's part of the Bill of Rights. Those are all individual rights. It has nothing to do with militias. The militia is a reason why that right exists, but these are all rights that are, whether you believe in God or you just feel these are just, whatever it is, these are innate rights. These are human rights. The right to believe what you want to believe religiously. The right to speak your mind. The right to defend yourself. And to do that, you need firearms. The right from, protection from illegal search and seizure, meaning if they're going to come busting your house and search your house, they need a search warrant. They need probable cause. The right to not self-incriminate. The right to have due process in a trial by a jury of your peers. All of those are essential, basic American human rights that just by virtue of you being born and being a citizen here, that you are alive and a citizen within the U.S. borders, you get these rights. Second Amendment is one of them. It's at the top, near the top of the list. The first is the right to believe and say what you want. The Second Amendment is there to protect the first and, the rest as well. But they deemed it that important. This was not an afterthought. This was not something of, oh yeah, let's just put that in and it somehow it's like second-class citizen status. It's right up there and it's very clear. Now, the left will try to say, oh, it refers to militias or the army or all these other things. And it's bullshit. No legal statute has ever supported that. The Founding Fathers didn't support that. When you look at the Founding Fathers and you look at the Federalist and Anti-Federalist papers and their notes and memoirs and journals and articles they wrote for the newspapers in Boston and Philadelphia at the time and New York, they explained exactly what they were arguing back and forth about it. All that was recorded. We have the writings. We have their own words explaining what their intentions were, why they did the things they did, why they felt it was important when they were hammering out the details of the foundation of our legal system and our system of government. People can go, well, I interpret it this way. You can do that if you want. Doesn't make you right. You interpreting something some way doesn't change the mindset and the intent and the legal verbiage as it was written. So you can believe otherwise. You're perfectly fine to do that. You be wrong. The Supreme Court has told us this now multiple times. And they just did it again in a 6-3 vote. So what did they find? What was this case about? So the original case that we were talking about, the Heller case, that was reaffirmed the individual right to keep and bear arms. It's not part of a militia. It's not part of the military. You as a citizen, now providing you're not a felon, there are things that could disqualify you, but basically all citizens have the right to keep and bear arms. Now, at the time, it was keep and bear arms in their homes. And I think that may be because that's what the law was that was what the case was for DC. They had a gun ban that said if you're within city limits, you can't own a firearm within your home. So they fought that, and so they came back and said, yes, you could have it in your home. But that didn't address then other states like New York that said, well, yeah, okay, so you have the right to keep and bear arms, but if you want to carry the gun in public, you have to present a need. Now, a lot of states, 27 now, in fact, are constitutional carry. They've recognized that the Constitution says, it's not, there's no distinction in the Second Amendment that says you only have the right to because you see, keep and bear, that's the thing. It doesn't say the right to possess arms. And it doesn't say anything about limiting it to your home versus going out to get something to eat or traveling. It's a right. And it says shall not be infringed, which means shall not be limited, shall not be regulated. Okay? So the Second Amendment is not a law that says the government grants you this privilege. No. That's not what the Second Amendment, it's not what the Bill of Rights is. The Bill of Rights says these are pre-existing, and they use the term given by God, whatever, but these are pre-existing human rights that you all have. They're not granted to you by government. You already have them. They're yours. They're a human rights. The second, the Bill of Rights simply outlines what those are and tells the government, hands off. So it's not something that the government grants to us. It's something we already possess. It's innate. And it outlines and defines them and says, government shall not infringe, meaning you can't limit these or take these away. These supersede you, the government. That's how this works, and that's what the Supreme Court ruling, if you read their notes, that's what that reaffirms. So what this case does is reaffirms that the Second Amendment doesn't stop at your property line. You have the right to keep and bear arms. Keep, meaning own, possess, and bear them. Like I come bearing gifts, I come bringing gifts, I come carrying. You have to think about the words there and what they meant at that time. Bearing at that time meant to carry on or about your person or to present. You have to have it with you. So they said it doesn't make any sense to think that the Second Amendment is limited to your house. And they even pointed out in the opinion pieces on it from the justices, they said, what other part of the Bill of Rights would anybody say that would apply to? Why would you apply that standard? You have to be consistent. The Second Amendment was part of the same document written by the same people for the same purpose at the same time. So they're all individual rights, not a collective right. That's what Heller proved. But they said also the limitations of thinking it only applies in your home. Would free speech only apply in the town square? But if you're in your home or you're at the grocery store or on the internet, then you don't have free speech? Because or would you say, would you agree to a limitation on the right for illegal search and the protection from illegal search and seizure only applies to your house, not your car or not your RV? No, it's your property, and they want to search it. They got to have probable cause and a search warrant. What about if they said, well, you have the freedom of religion, but only these religions are recognized? Or you can only express your religious belief in the church, because that's where religion belongs. If you're not in a church, then you can't express your religious beliefs. Nobody would ever think of limiting any of the other Bill of Rights along those lines. So why would you look at the Second Amendment differently? Well, it's because they just have a political agenda. They don't give a shit what the law is. That's just how they interpret it, because that's how they feel and that's how they want to interpret it. So the Supreme Court said, no. The idea, it's not a right if you have to go and ask someone for permission and present a need. If you said, look, I want to have free speech. I have some things I want to get out there, and I'm an activist, whether it be for climate change or whether it be for abortion, whatever. And they say, well, why do you need to do that? And tell me about why you need to do that, and what are the ramifications if you don't, and we'll decide if you get that, if we'll give you the permit and let you have free speech. Or we'll decide, if you say, well, I want to join this church. Well, why do you need that? I mean, do people really still need church in 2022? Tell me a bit about it, and fill out this form and submit your application, and we'll get back to you. If someone came to charge you with a crime and you said, okay, I guess I get a jury of my peers, we'll go to court. Well, no, you know, let us consider that. You know, we might just sentence you, you know, straight away without a court. Maybe you don't need. No, I have a right to a trial by jury of my peers. Well, you need to apply for that, and you need to convince us that you have, you know, a need for that. And if we decide that your need is sufficient, all right, we'll stamp it and we'll let you do that. Nobody would ever put up with that nonsense on any of their other Bill of Rights. And so the state of New York or New Jersey or Hawaii or California that do the exact same thing with the Second Amendment, if you do that, then it's not a right. If I have to go to somebody else and ask for permission, especially the very same government that the Constitution says shall not be infringed by those clowns, it was completely contradictory to the law. And the Supreme Court looked at it and said, yeah, the same thing that me and others have been saying for decades. They finally came out and took the case and said, yeah, you have a right to keep and bear arms, to own firearms and to carry them. Because it doesn't make much sense to have one if you can't have it when you need it. And so having to go to a government bureaucracy and convince them that you deserve the right, no. It says right there, shall not be infringed. It's your right. Whether you want to exercise it or not is up to you. It's not up to some government bureaucrat. It's not up to Chuck Schumer to sit there in judgment like an emperor and decide who should be allowed to. That's what this proves. And they lay it all out. It's 130 something pages. I haven't had a chance to go through it all, obviously, but I've gone through just kind of the highlights and stuff. But that's what it comes down and reaffirms, is that, yes, we already told you have the right to keep and bear arms. So part of that is the bear part. It's the carrying it, you know? And so you don't have to go and convince a government official that, well, I've taken this class and I have a need because I work in the jewelry district and I'm making large deposits. And because even then, a state like New York or New Jersey, even if you manage, if you're politically connected and you get the ability to get a carry permit, it's going to be limited to, okay, well, you said you needed it while you're on the job as a security officer. You said that while you're delivering high value or high dollar amounts, or you work for a Brinks truck, or you're making large cash deposits at the end of the day with your business, but don't let us see you catching it outside that because you said that's why you needed it. That's not how rights work. You have a right to defend yourself. Whether you're some beta boy on the left that believes it or not, I don't care. What you think and what you feel, your opinions don't matter. Everybody in this participation trophy thinks that their opinion is just as good as anybody else's. Not when you're dealing with the law. Not when you're dealing with established law and the Constitution and human rights that have been affirmed and reaffirmed time over time by the Supreme Court. The laws say what they say and they mean what they mean. How you feel, what's your opinion of it on it, it's worth less than a truckload of dead rats in a tampon factory. It doesn't mean anything. You know, if you want to talk about religion and I've got my opinions, you got yours, my opinion is every much as valid as yours. None of us outranks the other. When it comes to the rule of law, when it comes to facts, when it comes to the Constitution, there is a right and there is a wrong. I'm on the side that's right. Doesn't matter how you feel. You can make whatever dumb argument you think. Doesn't matter. The law says you're wrong. And that's what the Supreme Court has told you all. You have the right to keep and bear arms. You have the right to own the guns. You have the right to carry them. If you can legally purchase it, and you pass all the background checks and everything like that, you got a clean record and no mental health issues, anything like that, if you can buy it, you can carry it. There's no reason to allow someone to own the gun but not to actually have it on them when they need it. There's no point in that, which is why 43 states allow concealed carry easily, shall issue or minimum requirements, and 27 of them now have switched from that to the even more lenient. If you can legally pass the background check and buy the gun, you can carry it. Now you're going to see Schumer and everybody, oh, this means criminals can do. It's a bullshit fake argument. Nothing in this law has anything to do with criminals. This is about the permitting process and law-abiding citizens who legally own, purchase, pass the background checks to buy those weapons. If you can pass all that and legally own it, you should be allowed to carry it, which now you are. In those states, we already have it in most of the other states. So when someone makes the argument, oh, so that means criminals can do, Criminals were already buying the guns illegally, and they were already carrying them. They're not going to go. You think that a 17-year-old gangbanger who already has an arrest record and is dealing drugs and couldn't pass a background check in any state is going to go fill out the paperwork to now get his carry permit? No, it's a stupid, stupid argument. And if you make that argument knowing that it's stupid, you have a feeling. You just don't feel people should be allowed to do this, and you're trying to fabricate some sort of argument that supports in your mind what you feel. But it doesn't. It holds no water. Your opinion on this is irrelevant. I don't have to listen to it. I don't have to consider it. I don't have to give it any merit or the time of day. You're wrong. Supreme Court got it right. Again. So hopefully this will pave the way for national reciprocity. There's no reason why those of us with carry permits, which is like 20 million people, we have more people, I think, carrying guns in the U.S. than I think Canada has citizens, or damn close to it, or Australia. We're right on the same. But yeah, we have the right to keep and bear arms. And so there's no reason why I can carry in 34 states, but if I cross over a dotted line, again, you wouldn't put that up with that in New Jersey with free speech. Say, well, you can say what you want, be whatever religion, but then you get to the New Jersey and they go, oh, you're Muslim, or oh, you want free speech? No, we don't really recognize that here. These are federally protected rights. Not granted, protected. These are federally protected rights. Your right to keep and bear arms, your right to free speech, right to choose your own religion or not, due process, all of that. Those are American rights. They don't end or get clamped down on because you crossed over a dotted line into this state. And the fact that they've been allowed to do that for so long is a load of crap. And that's what the Supreme Court's coming down saying. And they even said you wouldn't accept this legal standard you're trying to apply to the Second Amendment. You wouldn't allow this on any of the others. And there's no one part of the Bill of Rights that's more important or takes a backseat to the other. They are all as important. They are all as critical, and they're all just as valid. And they all deserve the same protection and the same enforcement. So this is a big day. It's a good day for gun rights. I'm sure there'll be, a bunch of Democrats out running around. This is why we need to pack the courts. Shut up. If you're calling for packing the courts, if you see someone calling for packing the courts, ask them this question. Okay, if we decide and we're going to pack the court in 2024, what if Trump or DeSantis wins? Do you still want to pack the courts? Do you want Trump or DeSantis to pick the additional 6 judges? No, I wouldn't want them to pick it. Well, then you don't want the courts packed. If you think packing the courts because, well, we just need more justices for a more diverse, okay, so you're fine if we let the Republicans pick the judges? Well, no, we only want liberal judges. Then you don't want court packing. You just want to skew the court your favor because you lost out on the last few nominations, and this time it went the other way. It goes back and forth over the years. This time the pendulum swung to the right. It'll come back to the left, but let it do in its own court, on its own natural course. If one of the justices resigned today, Biden would get to appoint one. He's still got 2 years left of his presidency. That's just how it goes. So, but if you're calling for court packing because you don't get the verdicts you want, all you're saying is you want to stack the court with your activist judges so that the Supreme Court is no longer the Supreme Court. They're no longer the independent judicial. They're just a rubber stamp for whoever put them in. And that's not what it's supposed to be. Supreme Court is supposed to be impartial. Now, it may lean left at times, and it has over the years. There's been times when it was 6-3 Democrat versus Republican. It is what it is. This time, it's favoring our side. But it's still the impartial, third-party, independent judicial. If you just intentionally expand the court and add only one side to it, all you're doing is trying to take away its independence, trying to take away its ability to be impartial, and you're just making it an extension of the executive branch. You're just saying, look, I'm just going to throw a bunch of my guys on there, so they can just rubber stamp whatever I want to do. That is not the purpose of the Supreme Court. That's not legally what it's there for. It goes against everything in the Constitution. The fact that Democrats want to do that suggests they either don't know how government works or they just don't care, because to Democrats, the ends always justifies the means, even if it means breaking federal laws. As long as they get what they want, that's all that matters. And that's not how this shit's supposed to work. We're a nation of laws. Follow them. So anyway, that is what went on today. So it'll be interesting to see the wailings and the crying and the mewlings of all the leftists. Oh, this means criminals are going to be allowed to carry. Shut up, dumbass. Criminals are already carrying today. All this means is there'll be more good guys, which is a good thing. Living in a state or being in New York City where the only people walking around with guns that aren't cops are gangbangers, you think that makes you safe? You think that this changes anything for gangbangers, criminals, rapists, thugs, terrorists, anything? Of course not. This is completely irrelevant to them. They're already doing whatever they want. This isn't giving rights to them. They're prohibited from owning weapons in the first place. This has to do with carry permits. They're not getting carry permits. They weren't before. They're not going to now because they'll never pass the background check. So stop making dumb arguments. If you're having to make that argument, it's because you don't have an argument, and that's all you got. In which case, you're in the wrong debate. Move on, because you already lost. So not only do we have the right to keep arms, we have the right to carry them. And petitioning your state and asking for permission for a right, if you have to do that, then it isn't a right. That's what this is telling them, saying this is a right. People don't have to come to you and ask you for permission to exercise a right. You don't make them do it for the 1st or the 4th or the 5th or the 7th or anything else, and you're not doing it for this. Supreme Court just slapped New York State on the PP and told them that flat out. Your requirement for presenting a need, that they have to convince you that they have a right or that they need to exercise their right, stop doing that. It's illegal. That's what this ruling says. So, suck it, New York. Anyway, enjoy your day because I'm enjoying mine. Take care.